South Sudan's warring parties signed a peace deal in another attempt to end years of conflict in the country. Farmers in the island of Madagascar moved to protect their vanilla crops amid rampant theft and murder. And Team Africa takes on Team World when the NBA visits South Africa to honor Nelson Mandela's 100th birthday. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githui. You are in for Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. South Sudan's warring parties have signed a peace deal in the latest attempt to end the country's 5-year civil war, which has killed tens of thousands and displaced millions. As part of the deal, President Salva Kiir will remain president, and former Vice President and opposition rebel leader Riek Machar will return to the country as the first Vice President and one of 5 Vice Presidents. There will be an 8-month pre-transitional period led by Kiir, followed by a 3-year transitional period. According to the agreement, the government will include 20 ministers from Kiir's party, 9 from Machar's, and 6 from other groups. Here's what the two leaders had to say soon after signing the deal in Khartoum.
Nobody should fear arbitrary arrest or any form of security threat. The agreement sets forth a foundation for democracy and a leveled political ground for all South Sudanese to freely express their views without fear.
Even if we sign beautiful agreements and they are not implemented, we would have done nothing.
Brian Adeba, a native of South Sudan and Deputy Director for Enough Project, reacted to Sunday's power-sharing deal.
This deal is different and was appealing to all parties in the conflict because it met some of the basic expectations that they wanted to see in a deal. However, this deal is not complete. It doesn't solve all the problems that are there, in particular issues about revenue sharing, ambiguous issues about security sector reform and security arrangements in the capital, Juba. These are things that are potentially flashpoints that could unravel the peace agreement, and it behooves the parties in the conflict to actually work very hard to ensure that there are no hiccups that could unravel this peace deal.
This is the latest in several attempts at peace agreements and ceasefires since war broke out in Africa's youngest nation in 2013. A car exploded in central Cairo on Monday after colliding with a microbus, injuring 13 people. Smoke from the blast could be seen rising from the other side of the Nile River. People nearby said they heard a loud blast and saw a car on the side of the road completely destroyed, with bits of twisted and punctured metal scattered nearby. They appeared to be damage to a nearby building, including smashed windows. According to state-run media, explosives experts concluded that the blast was caused by an electrical fault which spread a fire to the car's fuel tank. A health ministry official told a local radio station that several other people were treated at the scene for minor injuries. At least 3 Somali soldiers were killed in a suicide bomb attack in Afgoye district, a town 30 kilometers northwest of the capital, Mogadishu. The attack was claimed by Islamist militants Al-Shabaab. Somali soldiers were deployed in Afgoye this week in efforts to tighten security in the town ahead of an expected visit by President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo. Police said they and the military fired at a speeding suicide car bomb which exploded, killing 3 soldiers. Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the attack, citing a higher death toll than the police. An Al-Shabaab spokesperson told reporters that a suicide car bomb targeted Somali forces who were deployed ahead of President Farmajo's visit in Afgoye, claiming that the militant group killed 11 soldiers. Zimbabweans are awaiting the next steps after President Emmerson Mnangagwa was declared the winner of last week's election. The main opposition Movement for Democratic Change disputes the results and say they will launch a court challenge. On Sunday, a small group of Mnangagwa's ruling ZANU-PF supporters marched through the central Harare in party colors as other residents expressed mixed feelings about the country's political future. Local media say police are maintaining a 24-hour presence at the main opposition head office in the capital, Harare. Last week, soldiers shot dead 6 civilians in the city in a crackdown on opposition protests. President Mnangagwa on Friday urged the country to unite after he was declared the first elected head of state since Robert Mugabe's removal from power last November. Women in Sierra Leone are making progress as leaders and entrepreneurs thanks to the efforts of an organization known as 50-50 Group of Sierra Leone. The organization helps women participate in governance and public service. And joining me in the studio to tell us more are Yarie Bangura and Alfiatu Kamara, President and Vice President of the organization's. Ladies, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much.
Yarie, let me start with you, and let's start with what the inspiration was behind this 50-50 group and how women are doing in Sierra Leone since the launch.
Well, since 2001, which was launched by Dr. Nemata Majid Walker and other founding members, we youth-led here in the United States. What inspired us more is to come together to actually build the status quo wherein we women here in the United States and other parts of the world, we actually work towards empower one another in leadership and training and also pushing towards parity and advocacy throughout the country and as well as here in the United States.
Now, Sierra Leone came out of a civil war that has left a lot of wounds. Even today, they're still trying to bridge those gaps. But looking back, Alfiatu, how was this received by the men especially, because you're more focused on the women?
Yeah, the men did not accept the things when we started, when our parents started, they did not accept everything and they had so many challenges with the men because they think the group is here to fight them, the group was here to undermine their male ego, but we are still working with them because the group's focus is to work side by side with men. That's why it's 50-50 side by side with men. So we try our best to talk to them and have them by the side. And even the membership is open to the men, but we just have few men, so it's like a general membership open to men that embrace the value for gender equality, parity, and equity. But we're still having issues with them embracing the idea.
You still have issues with them. Maybe, Yarie, you can explain more. Have women said, you know, our husbands maybe or brothers are not happy with what we're doing?
Well, majority of the people I've come across really like the idea. They love the fact that we're trying to empower one another. You know, when you talk about 50-50, sometimes we tend to just be biased in what we're thinking about. That's a lot of way people think about the same thing. But what we're working as is just trying to be in all aspects of life. It doesn't just have to be because we want to take something from them or the privileges they're enjoying. It's mostly we're trying to represent in every angle, in the home. And so they should be happy, they should applaud it because we're trying to actually represent in all parts of the world. So that's I feel like they're really accepting it. For me, my own few people I've talked to. But the people that don't, they feel like we're just trying to take their privileges away, which we're trying to make clear the more we advocate.
So looking back, Alfiatu, how are women doing in terms of engaging and even participating in politics and in public service in Sierra Leone?
We are still struggling to have at least 30% quota in politics. We are still trying to get, but we are trying. We currently have the first elected female mayor, who is Yvonne Akisoya. So we are still trying, but it's still hard. But we are pushing forward. We are still advocating the gender equality and parity. It's still slow, but we are aiming and hoping to achieve the 50-50.
Yarie, as we speak about women, are you taking into consideration the young women, the young girls, even in high school and in colleges, that are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow, in trying to help them push forward?
Yes, so that's the main reason, because if you take a look back at the parents group in Sierra Leone, we actually have mostly older women. We have young people there, but they're not as much as we really want it to be. That's why we're here. We're actually youth-led, and all of us are like under 30 and maybe 35. So we're actually targeting young women and girls in Sierra Leone, wherein we hope to train them to know how to lead, even from school, even from being in middle school to high school, leadership in all spheres of life, leadership in maybe in your walk of life, in entrepreneurship, in everything that you have to do, you have to be a leader, because that's where it starts. So we're targeting younger generations because we are like the future, so that's the aim.
And she's one of the younger generations.
Yeah.
Alfiatu, what about the cultural barriers that bar women and young girls in Sierra Leone from progressing? What are some of the issues that you're addressing through this organization?
We are addressing the gender-based violence because if you see, women normally face gender-based violence. Since it's an African setting, like most of the time the women are silent. They don't go out and talk, they don't speak out and talk, like they always remain back and like suffer the violence in silence. So like we are encouraging them and talking to them like to come forward and stand up for their right. Like this is not the right thing. We also still have the challenges with the male. So we are also trying to like talk to them to understand that this is not about taking everything from them. This is just about being by their side and helping them out. Because when we have women and men working together, we believe that we can help to get a better nation. We can help to develop the world.
So, Yari, what kind of support have you received? I did see somewhere that former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright supported the group, was very happy with what you're doing. What other kind of support are you getting?
This group has been in existence since 2001. So our parents' body have done a lot. They've gotten, they have a lot of support from our government back home, and they even won the award, the Madeleine Albright Award. And they're like the leading, they're like, I would say, the #1 group in Sierra Leone pushing for the rights of women and participation in politics. So there's been a lot of lately we also had an institution be opened by a former president. It's like a huge institution that's actually funded by people that really support our cause and what we're fighting for. So we've had quite a great success so far, and the institution will be used for training of women and helping in just a safe place where you can meet and just get to be one another's keeper and as well train one another. So yeah.
Alfiatu, what's your next goal in this organization? What are you looking forward to in the next couple of years?
The parent group is looking next to get a first female president, whilst the youth-based group, we are looking forward to like engage more young Sierra Leoneans, more girls, to empower them, to encourage them, to mentor them, to take when the older generation goes so that we can take their steps. But the main goal is to have our first female president and to have the 30% quota in parliament. That is 30% in decision making. For us to have women, 30% of women in decision making in the country, but we are still trying to get there. That's the next goal.
Yeah, 30 seconds, wrap it up. What's next?
So right now we're actually launching our 50-50 group in the United States. So we encourage young ladies living in diaspora in any part of the world, or even in the United States right now. If you want to come, we can send you an invite. Please support us, and we look forward to working with everyone. So just make this gender parity through advocacy. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alfiatu and Yari, thank you very much for joining us on Africa 54. Yari Bangura and Alfiatu Kamara are President and Vice President of the 50-50 Group of Sierra Leone. We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Still ahead on Africa 54, farmers in Madagascar take a stand against losing their vanilla crops. But first, a look at Monday's headlines.
In South Sudan, President Salva Kiir and rebel leader Riek Machar signed a ceasefire agreement and power-sharing deal, hoping to end a 5-year civil war. In Somalia, at least 3 people are dead after a car bomb explodes on a busy street in Mogadishu. In Zimbabwe, President-elect Emmerson Mnangagwa said last week's presidential elections had been declared by everyone as, quote, free, peaceful, and transparent, unquote, despite protests from the opposition who claimed the election was rigged. We stay in Zimbabwe, where funerals are held throughout the country for those killed during post-election violence. Finally, in Mali, opposition leader Soumaïla Cissé accuses President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta of election fraud in the first round of the presidential election.
The island of Madagascar on the east coast of southern Africa produces half of the world's natural vanilla. But as this year's season for the valuable crop begins, theft and even murder are becoming rampant. Some farmers say they aren't taking it anymore and have formed vigilante groups to watch over their crops. VOA's Maria Madiallo reports.
At about $530 a kilo, vanilla is one of the world's most valuable natural flavorings, a crop that some would steal or even kill to get their hands on.
The vanilla thieves cut off the vanilla plants and the pods. They cut vines and put them in bags. So I've become more vigilant. This year, I bought a spear and a small pistol gun to protect myself and my farm.
Madagascar vanilla farmer João Nascena says he's not taking any chances after losing last year's harvest to thieves.
I decided to live and sleep here so that I can guard the farm.
He's not the only farmer to take drastic measures. There's been a wave of killings as growers murder those they suspect of stealing their lucrative crop. Since then, local authorities have stepped up security efforts to help protect the farms. Sernat Bessoa is the local police chief.
We have been working together to try and come up with the necessary measures to curb the theft of vanilla.
Used to flavor everything from ice cream to coffee, the price of vanilla has risen exponentially since 2010 when it was only $20 a kilo. The crime wave began last year when the price of black non-split Madagascar vanilla shot up to a record $635 a kilo.
They need to stabilize the price of vanilla or reduce the price of vanilla, which we can admit is too high for the buyers. But it should be done gradually so it doesn't have a negative impact on the producers.
The higher prices have prompted some customers to switch to cheaper synthetic vanilla. And buyers say the quality of vanilla exports from Madagascar has fallen recently because some farmers, fearing the worst, may be harvesting their crops too early in the season. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Efforts have begun to evacuate more than 1,000 foreign tourists from Indonesian resort islands a day after a powerful earthquake killed at least 98 people and left more than 200 seriously injured. A magnitude 6.9 quake struck at a depth of 10.5 kilometers in the northern part of Lombok, triggering a brief tsunami warning. It was also felt on the neighboring Gili Islands, as well as Bali, Sumbawa, and parts of East Java. Much of the evacuation efforts are focused on the tiny Gili Islands, 3 tiny vacation islands near Lombok. Tourists packed the small beaches early Monday, waiting for boats to take them to the larger Lombok Island. The National Disaster Mitigation Agency told reporters the damage was massive and that search, rescue, and evacuation efforts are ongoing, but that they are running out of basic supplies.
The most urgent need at this point is medical personnel, medicine, food, especially instant food. We need a lot of them because thousands of people are being displaced and scattered all over the area.
Nugroho says the death toll is expected to rise as search crews reach more affected areas. He said no foreign tourists are among the dead. Indonesia's Garuda Airlines says it is making extra flights from Lombok to accommodate tourists seeking to leave. Like Bali, Lombok is known for its pristine beaches and mountains. Indonesia is prone to earthquakes due to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an arc of volcanoes and fault lines in the Pacific Ocean basin. Washington is observing the latest escalation in tensions between the United States and its trading partners, with China threatening to slap tariffs on more than 5,000 American-made products totaling $60 billion. As VOA's Michael Bowman reports, Beijing's announcement came after the Trump administration proposed raising tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese goods, continuing a tit-for-tat trade battle that is alarming many in the U.S. business community and dividing the Republican Party.
We are making new American dreams come true.
President Donald Trump touting strong economic numbers with robust growth and near record low U.S. unemployment.
Now that we have the best economy in the history of our country, this is the time to straighten out the worst trade deals ever made by any country on earth at any time.
Trump tweeting that tariffs are working big time and claiming they will improve America's finances and bring jobs and great wealth. The president's allies in Congress beg to differ.
I've made it pretty clear I don't think tariffs are the right answer. I don't support tariffs. I think tariffs are taxes. We need to be careful about taking action that increase barriers to trade. If we impose higher tariffs without justification, we invite retaliation and higher tariffs on our exports.
And it's not just Republicans complaining. Democratic Senator Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota tweeted, quote, "An escalation of the trade war with China is the last thing our farmers need as harvest begins. This trade war will hurt North Dakota more than China, not a winning strategy." While certain American sectors are being disproportionately impacted by tariffs, the Trump administration says a trade war will inflict more pain on China and lead to better trading terms for the United States.
We have to have good trade deals. We're going to make our country so much richer than it's ever been.
Business groups see dangers ahead, with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce warning tariffs could undermine the strong economic performance that Trump so proudly trumpets. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
Stand by two.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. After leaving China almost a decade ago, Google may be on its way back. The company is planning to launch a censored version of its search engine, which will block certain websites and even some search terms. It's a reversal of its stance from 8 years ago when Google left China in protest of the country's censorship. The news stirred strong reaction on Chinese social media, with some saying they would rather continue jumping the Great Firewall rather than use a castrated version of Google. Staying in China, the world's first augmented reality zoo has opened in Guangdong province. By logging on to the app, visitors can learn more about various animals in the park. In addition, the app can also find the precise positions of more than 20,000 animals and of over 500 species in the zoo, and also lead visitors to their right destination inside the park. And finally, thanks to virtual reality, motion sensors, a new torso-controlled jacket plus drones, the imaginary feeling of flying may now be closer to reality. Scientists, engineers, and robotics experts at a Swiss university have developed a jacket that allows for hands-free drone flying. The system could one day be used by rescuers, farmers, Hollywood camera crews, and more. The flying isn't all that developed yet, but the systems appear on track. In virtual worlds, flying occurs at a set speed. The real drones require a second operator to regulate the speed, but the jacket isn't fully autonomous yet, and that's what's trending today. The National Basketball Association was in South Africa this past week, a visit made in honor of what would have been Nelson Mandela's 100th birthday. The NBA organized several community programs in South Africa, and the week ended on a high note as Team Africa took on international players. Zahir Kasim looks back at the week from Pretoria.
The fans are ready for Team Africa to show the world what they got. Led by all-star big man Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers, the game was going to be spectacular. But for the NBA and its players, coming here to South Africa was more than a game. It was an opportunity to reach out to underprivileged communities and show the locals that the values of the sport can be applied to everyday life. Ennerdale is a poor community on the outskirts of Johannesburg. More than half the people living in this town are unemployed and most likely don't know any of the players volunteering today, even if one of those volunteers was Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo.
We believe in giving back. We believe that making our community a better place. We are here in South Africa to play our third game in the continent, and we want to let know that we didn't come just to play the game, but we also come to see the community where our game is being played. Let them know that if there's anything else we can do, we want to be part of that change.
The 7 feet 2 inch Congolese giant is bending his back as he is laying brickwork on one of those 10 new homes sponsored by the NBA and Habitat for Humanity. Mother of 6 children, Grace Shosanisa, has a brief conversation with her fellow African compatriot.
He's talking with me, and then he told me he's very happy, and then he liked my name, like Grace. So I'm very happy.
Grace has no clue who Mutombo is, but it is this very essence why the trip is so important. It's not about the spin or the glory, but giving selflessly as Mandela did.
It was a great fortune for me to meet Grace today, to know that I'm here to help, I'm here to contribute, and I'm here to build the house that she's going to call home.
In his second trip to the Rainbow Nation, 76ers point guard Jared Bayless says that he enjoys coming to the country and doing what he can in the little time that he has.
For 4 or 5 days at the most, and we're coming here, we're trying to build homes, we're trying to influence the community in that short time. So I think that the cynical nature of that people might feel isn't really true, because we're trying to do as much as we can in the time frame that we're actually here. And this country has been an unbelievable host to not only, like I said, the NBA, but the Players Association, and they partner with us to do as much as we can within this country in this short time. So I think us continuing just to help build and help just be a part of this and be in the communities kind of takes away the cynical nature of what people might refer to that we're doing.
Although the scoreline had only one winner today, as Team World beat Team Africa 96-92, the game of basketball, its guiding principles of being fair, hard work, and cooperation will not be forgotten by the people of South Africa. Zahir Kassim for VOA, Pretoria, South Africa.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching, and good night from Washington.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Canaries are little yellow birds.
Canary in a coal mine.
Why are these cute birds in a dark coal mine?
Did you hear about Sarah? The boss took her to dinner and then fired her the next day.
The same thing happened to Jason. The boss took him to dinner and then fired him.
Dinner with the boss